Welcome to an all-new episode of Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. This podcast explores leadership traits under stress with a special guest each week. We use a simple and accurate OAD assessment to identify key personality traits or superpowers, as well as the shadow side, kryptonite traits that appear when we're under stress. As always, we'll have some pod banter, shameless plugging, and we'll even let our guests talk for a bit. Of course, no humble brags. Welcome to the show. And welcome to the podcast. This is Work in Progress with John Lane and Will Barfield. We are in banter mode. Let's do some banter. Mr. Mike returns. Will, do you hear us okay?
What?
Yes, nice.
Yes, no, my headset wouldn't work earlier, so we ditched it and said, let's go.
Yeah, and you look good without it. I've never seen you without your appendage. He wears that headset. You see it on he wears that like when he goes out in public. It's a little embarrassing.
I wear it in bed. It makes me feel safe.
Yeah, it looks good on you. But we are live again, this time from New York City, the Big Apple, as no one calls it. And we're at a WeWork, and we're at Allie's office, and she kindly gave us the conference room to use. I'd say that after I begged her to record live, she invited us. So let's say we're invited to come in. Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, that's just you two now, right? I'm still here in.
That's right. You're in North Carolina, and we're not having the lag we had when we did it from Kelly at the conference.
Or the lag from the Vince recording.
Oh, right. Oh, that was awful. Yeah. I think that's Vince's fault. I'm John Lane.
I'm Will Barfield.
And we are a work in progress. Nice to see you. As always, we have a special guest. Will, how do we know she's special?
Because the slide says so.
And what don't slides do?
Slides don't lie. Slides don't lie. Even if the thing on the slide is untrue.
Oh, yeah. Even if it's untrue, slides don't lie. Allie, thank you.
Of course.
You did the assessment with us like years and years ago, right? Like 2.5 years ago.
Oh, is it really that long?
I think you did the assessment before we had a podcast, or else we would have invited you on.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, so welcome.
OAD enlightened for 2 years and I didn't even know it.
Yes. And your trajectory in career since OAD has just been straight up. That's
true.
A fact.
That's true.
That should be on the slide.
That's
a direct correlation.
That should be right. Your last click. Your last assessment.
Causation, not correlation.
There's something like that. Yeah. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit and your spiffy
my hoodie.
Your hoodie with the chalice on. What does that mean?
Sure. So, hey, I'm Allie. I am a co-founder and COO at Chalice Custom Algorithms. Chalice is a almost 4-year-old startup, or maybe I should just say software company instead of startup, in the ad tech space. So we configure custom advertising buying algorithms for clients. So like for big brands, some of our public clients are Hershey's and Hyundai Motors.
Very nice.
And so that's the logo. Or the logo
backwards. I always like which way is which way.
I try to wear my brand as often as possible.
Yes, you should.
At least in like business public, I would say. And I'm former Google and Snap, working mom. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old. And my business partner and co-founder CEO is my husband, Adam.
So that's always smooth.
Yeah, that's it's
always
like
perfect.
The best way to improve your marriage is to start a business together. Yeah.
Well, Will and his wife own their business together.
Oh, you do?
She's his boss.
Oh, nice.
51%.
I mean,
that's right.
Isn't every wife the boss?
But this is official. This is on paper.
Yes.
This is on paper. Yeah. But Will, you almost always wear your swag, right? Your BRC swag.
I try to wear BRC swag out. Yeah, I'm not wearing it today. But
or North Carolina swag, which is both unusual for you.
Actually, this is
what's that?
This W is from the Willet Distillery. This is a shirt that I picked up when we were on the Bourbon Trail a few weeks ago.
Oh,
it happens to
Will
be.
calls the Bourbon Trail. That's his long name for weekend.
That's funny.
Is that true? Is that true?
No.
That's on a slide. If that was on a slide, it would be true.
That is true. And we got to get past this slide, John. We got a show to do.
I know. We'll get going. All right. Let us go. Allie, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
As everyone who watches our pod knows, we get the leadership traits under stress from where, Will?
The OAD survey tool.
Yes.
Organization, analysis, and design.
Exactly. And why do we pick them?
Highly accurate, easy to administer, eliminate social disability distortions. It's built to the standards of leading international psychological institutions and rating agencies. Those logos are all across the bottom, which means you can trust the data. It's scientific.
You can trust the data. Allie, you can trust the data. Anyway, Allie took the assessment a long time ago. I think we all remember how this works, but let's just walk around the leadership style matrix. We look at people along the spectrum of generalists versus specialists, and then technically oriented versus socially oriented. I am a socially oriented generalist, so I'm in the builder quadrant. I'm a negotiator. Will is a
technically oriented generalist in the architect quadrant. I'm a developer.
And guess what Allie is?
A builder.
And?
Negotiator.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't know what it is. I would say 60% of our guests have been negotiators.
Wow.
Because they're outgoing. They'll say yes. And then of them, probably at least half have been negotiators. There are a lot of us running around. Frankly, I find that frightening.
So many negotiators.
Yes.
Yeah. So many people who are like,
yes, us.
Talking.
Yeah, which is not what we
things afire.
Exactly. So here's Allie. Let's break Allie down. Now we're both negotiators, but we'll say how it's different. So we always read this from the AEPD, Assertiveness, Extroversion, Patience, Detail, Orientation. We read it from right to left. Allie's most dominant trait is extroversion. She's warm, she's open, she's amiable, she's optimistic, she's quick to trust. All those nice words. She's also a generalist. That A is greater than the D, so she's venturesome. She's a risk taker. Like me, she might jump off the cliff and then check her parachute. That will lead to some bloopers that we undoubtedly will do later. Generalists tend to care more that work gets done rather than how work gets done, which is why we'll delegate. And sometimes we delegate too soon. Sometimes specialists delegate too late. Then where Allie and I differ is that my P is sort of right on the median. Allie's P is way low. Low relative to the A, which means she's she operates with urgency, impatient, you might say. And she's also comfortable with change, which is really helpful, I think, in a software startup where every 6 months it's almost like a new company, right? Just very, very different. Yep. And the opposite of her A is her D, and that D is that detail orientation. It doesn't mean she can't pay attention to details. It just means she'd prefer not to. And that's okay.
It's true.
Yeah, her VL's a 35, which means she's she can operate outside of her traits pretty well.
So can pay attention to
You
detail.
can. You don't like it, but you can and you will. Your EC's a 2. So that means that's heart versus head. You make your decisions with empathy and feeling. That's just the kind of person you are. I know that personally. And your CR is a 10. 10 is somebody who is going to figure out something, a solution, even if there's no manual or roadmap to get it done. You're just going to get it done. So, Will, I jumped the gun on this. Ask Allie the question.
Oh, yeah, you did. That just totally slipped by me. Allie, how does it feel to be reduced to a 2-dimensional table?
Oh, obviously, I think of myself as more multi-dimensional, but I would say that the broad brush strokes get painted pretty well. And then, it's like filling in the fine details. And of course, it's interesting to see how I'm perceived versus how I perceive myself, both from an assessment, but also sharing this with others.
Yeah. When Will and I were deciding to do this, he did the assessment. He didn't even look at it. He just printed it off, gave it to Amy. She came back and she said, "It's witchcraft." No, she said it's the most accurate view of her husband that she's ever seen, which is why Will decided to jump in this crazy game.
One of many reasons,
Yeah. And I'm just going to edit this. So I put the question for, no,
If you're gonna edit it, I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah,
I'm
go ahead. No worries.
Will I have like the worst allergies right now? So
and just
sorry,
so you know,
try not to cough.
it's fine. It's fine. Oh, that's a good one.
That is. It's nice.
All right, don't put this on.
I know. You know, I'm not going to edit this out, right? I will. I'm writing a note. Edit, Allie, nose blowing.
Thank you.
Maybe. It depends on my mood.
I forgot.
It depends on my mood when we're editing this. So let's keep going. So, Allie, you have superpowers. You have kryptonite. Will's going to walk you through these. These are pretty much system generated, so they're not the ones you wrote. We'll get to yours in a minute. But Will, take over, please.
Yeah. So, Allie, on this page here, anyone who takes the OAD assessment and gets the builder negotiator readout is going to get these same outputs. Of the superpower side over there, is there one of those as you quickly scan them that stands out as like, yeah, that's me, or others have said it about you, feels accurate or most accurate?
I think that I am a really persuasive communicator for sure. I maybe sometimes too persuasive, but I think that I can really get people on board with things, not by telling them how things are going to go, like, so get on board, but more like communicating in a way that brings people along, that helps them be part of the solution, see the vision, build the vision with me and with the team. So that's something.
I agree with that.
Too persuasive.
That was a persuasive answer. Yeah. Nice.
Kryptonite side, same thing, right? These readouts are going to show for anyone who lands in builder negotiator and that qualification. One of these that you want to, click on.
Yeah, I'll click on inconsistent listening. So
you're too busy persuading.
Well, that was tough for me because I do feel like it's getting inconsistent, right? I can like deeply listen, and I feel like people who communicate with me generally feel seen and heard. So there's that. But then I would say sometimes someone says something and it sparks an idea or excitement in me, and so my brain just starts going, and then I can miss some of like their more detailed thoughts about the idea. And I might just like jump in with my own. So it's something I've been trying to, obviously like watch and work on, especially leading a team of brilliant people. And so, yeah, so inconsistent. So I can also like listen really deeply. If someone's saying something that sparks my imagination, like I get really involved. And then I think on the good side of inconsistent, people feel like seen and heard when I listen to them.
Yeah, inconsistent, I think, is the right word. Like it will be on and then shiny thing.
Yeah. But I think like in inconsistent listening, like you have, in order to be a persuasive communicator, right? That's not just like selling, right? That's listening too. So I think they go hand in hand.
Agreed. All right. Now let's get into the stuff that you wrote.
Right. So during your exercise prepping for the show, Allie, you took a look at the readout and results, and you generated some of your own thoughts and comments. Rather than pick one, let's walk through all of these and get your read on your results, your superpowers. What did you select here? Why did you write this down?
Yeah. So I think the first one, perception, we kind of touched on a little like just now. So I feel like I can really figure out what's going on, kind of like facts on the ground, but also emotionally for people and the dynamics of the team. And so that obviously helps when you're running a team. On the motivating, inspire thing. So I guess that's also sort of around that persuasive communication bucket. But I see big vision, and yeah, like I say, bring others along. And then on idea generation, yeah, so ideas just like flow out of me. And I can get myself and others like pretty excited about them, but then like prioritizing and following through become some of my kryptonite. And so I need help. I try to surround myself with people who can bring structure and like really focus thinking and like really pull out of me what is important. What do I really mean when I talk about an idea, and what does that actually, how do you actually translate that into action?
Yeah, that surrounding yourself, having that recognition, right, and actualization to say, I need to surround myself with people that are going to help me when I go a little manic. It's a great point, because in that mode where the flow is happening and you're excited and passionate, and that you kind of leave the reservation for a minute. Sounds like you got people on the team that'll pull you back.
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of developers and processors on the team. And so I have to be very cognizant of like, I'll throw out an idea kind of like what if, and like get the creative juices flowing, and they'll be like, oh my God, what do you mean? What are we doing? Like, so I have to be very careful to make sure I'll say like, as an example, or like, I'm just putting this into the ether for you guys to think about, like no action required, but maybe this inspires you guys to think about how to tackle this challenge or create something new. So that like executive bullhorn can go off too much on the ideas front if I'm not careful.
And that's the high E going with the 10 CR. You put those together,
okay.
Very idea oriented, and then the ideas come out your mouth.
Yeah,
and that's fine in a bunch of peers. But when it's a bunch of people who report up to you, they're wondering, are we getting work? Like, what's happening here? So you got to be very, very careful.
Yeah, it's true.
So you have that self-awareness. So
it's true.
That. Let's get to the good stuff, Will.
Kryptonite. So we're going to go through this slide too, and you're going to talk to us about that.
Yeah.
When that moment, those times when stress is high, challenge, and those strengths become weaknesses of kryptonite conversion.
Yeah. So if I don't have a deadline, you might as well consider it not done. So I've had to get good about reinforcing, like even setting deadlines for myself, and then they like always move. So especially as a COO, I wear still a lot of hats. We're a 20-person company, so we don't have an HR department. We have like a CFO on speed dial, but so I end up having to balance a lot of like sales follow-ups and making sure our 409A valuation is like on time.
Important stuff.
Yeah, that goes to a multi-pronged follow-up. So it's hard for me to slow down and follow up really thoroughly. And so, a lot of what we do, because it's custom configurable software, is more consultative selling. And I still lead a lot of those conversations with the larger clients. And so like those follow-ups are usually not just like, hey, here's the deck, here are the 3 typical next steps, let's go. And so sometimes like I can't fit it into like a 15-minute window between 2 other meetings where I have to be like on. I really need a moment to slow down and do that. That's really hard in our environment. And then finally, Zoom links. Even though I have Zoom set up to automatically add a link to my meetings, somehow they still don't end up on my meetings. And it's like a running theme for me. They're definitely my kryptonite.
That's a blooper machine.
My Achilles heel. Yeah.
So it's set up to auto-generate, and it still doesn't end up in there.
Yeah, I don't know why. Like, I think it's that I'm actually moving so fast that it like doesn't have time to pre-populate before I hit like send on the invite. That's my theory.
It's your theory and you're sticking to it. I don't have any problem with it.
Put it on a slide and it'll be facts.
Exactly. And it'll be true. Even if it's not, it'll be true.
On the slide, it's true. Great.
You went through this exercise with us, been on the podcast, kind of revealing, being open, sharing things. Share with us what you gathered from this experience that, looking at your strengths, looking at your weaknesses. You already were someone who did some, pretty thorough self-analysis, but how can you apply what we've discussed and analyzed today to, leading this company, leading the team, leading growth, professional, personal, what have you?
Sure. So I think first off is leaning into my strengths. So, and then I think, as I said, like surrounding myself with people who round out where I'm not strong, and and then I add my strengths to like their pile. And we had our whole team do OAD maybe like 5 or 6 months ago.
October, yeah.
And is that really 5 or 6 months ago?
I know, 6 months ago.
So, and that's been really informative for all of us. So I had I think the skeptics on my team kind of nod their heads when they got their readouts and say like, yeah, this is spot on. And by sharing across the team what our different profiles are, we've been able to kind of know each other better, communicate better. So I have a big HR like proposal to put in front of my two other board members. And I know their style is like, they want to read it first. So my style is like, I don't want to spend half an hour emailing you about it and a half-hour meeting with you about it. Why can't I just meet with you about it and information dump on you? But they they need to sit with something for a while, and I want a quick decision. So I needed to slow down myself, write it all out so that they can read it. And then tomorrow when we get in a meeting, it'll probably be a really quick decision versus if we get in a meeting and you haven't read through it, it'll be like, we won't be able to make a decision yet.
And if they're technically oriented people, that's the worst thing you can do to them is bring an overload and then ask them for a decision.
Yeah.
So send it before, give them time to read it and then talk about it. You won't always get the answer you want, but at least you won't get rolled because they didn't have the chance to like think about it.
Right. Yeah. And similarly, like with some of the folks I manage, they're in the processor bucket. And so I'll have a one-on-one and I'll want to be like, well, let's come up with your goals for the next quarter, like in your one-on-one. And I know I can't really do that. Or like say, like, what do you really want to focus on? Like, that's something that if you ask me, I would just start like talking and we get there, but I can't spring that on them in a one-on-one. So oftentimes I'm saying for the next one-on-one,
100%.
Here's what we're going to talk about, like give it some thought so they know it's coming. And they have an opportunity to like clarify any of that before we're deep in the discussions. That's
processors. I love that you know that and you're able to process it.
Thanks.
That has to improve, overall, team communication and culture when you actually, you go through an exercise like, the OAD workshop that you did with John.
Yeah.
And I think so. Figure out what everybody's differing strengths and weaknesses are and how you best communicate with them and how to prep them for success. In most instances, the companies that don't analyze that, they can't figure out why they can't get along with people. Why don't they think like me?
Yeah.
We were finishing a workshop with a local client down in Raleigh, and we're just kind of wrapping up, going around the table. And the CEO says, and there's a couple of really deep experts, and the CEO had this this technique he used in a meeting. If certain people haven't talked the whole meeting, he wants the meeting to have their voice. So he'll turn to them and ask them a question. And I looked down the table and I said, Andy, how does that work for you? He's like, I hate it. So he and the CEO had this little meeting of the mind. Even though it seems small, the CEO thought he was being inclusive. And the other guy was like, Andy was like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny how, meeting techniques or things like that you think are overly generalized, that they're not. And so knowing that about people is really important.
Yeah. I think too, the employees have to like adapt too. Like we have one who's sort of like that in the meeting, but then the problem is he doesn't say anything in the meeting and then have one-on-one and it's like, ugh, and I'm like, and it's like 4 days later, right? And I'm like, that doesn't work well either. Like he has to be able to find his voice and be more assertive or like quicker, even if that's not his comfort zone. If he wants to be heard, which he should be because he's an amazing employee.
Yeah. Someone that I work with said they start every meeting. They have a lot of expert, technically oriented people too. At the start of every meeting, everyone knows they're going to be asked to say something like, how was your weekend or something. And the idea is that now the meeting has had everyone's voice. And if you come into the meeting and you haven't spoken, now it's minute 48, that gap makes your next word feel very big. So if you've said something earlier, even if it was just like, I just vegged and played video games, your voice has been in the meeting already. I thought that was a nice technique.
That is an interesting technique. I'm into it.
All right. So, this has been one of the most spectacular experiences of your life today, I'm certain, Allie. Definitely of mine. Yeah.
One of them.
Versus my children, wedding, work in progress podcast.
Yeah.
Number 3. So we'll take that. We'll take third place. That's still in the points, right? Like with horse races.
Points,
yeah.
It's a parlay. Yeah.
Who's next? Is there someone from your network, that you believe would enjoy this process, would participate and get some value out of it?
Absolutely. So I'm thinking of one of our advisors who is amazing and also loves to talk about himself. Lou Pascalis.
Lou.
Maybe take out.
I know Lou. And he would agree with you.
He loves to talk, and he's his value per word is actually very high.
Very high.
So I think it's worth listening to Lou. That's actually my shorthand. Awesome. Is listen to Lou. That's what I tell myself when we meet with Lou. So I think he'd be great. I hope he can come on the pod.
So we will follow up, and
Sure.
You'll ask him for us, which is awesome. Well, this is our least favorite part of the show. It's when we say goodbye. Allie, it's been a while since we started scheduling this with you. I think we might have had a scheduling snafu earlier in the spring, but now we get to do it live, so it all worked out. So thank you again. I'm John Lane.
Yes, thank you. I'm Will Barfield.
And we are
a work in progress.
Bye.
It's been awesome. Thank you, Allie.
Thank you, guys. It's fun.
Cut. Excellent. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. And now we'll just take a minute, take a smoke, and then we'll do the bloopers.
All right.
Will, I need you for 3 minutes after we quit recording.
Okay.
Maybe 2 minutes. Okay. If everyone's ready. Will, are you ready? I think Allie's ready. I think I'm ready.
I'll bloop. Yep.
All right.
Let's do it.
In 3, in 2, in 1. Hi, everybody. We are back. We're back. Kryptonite bloopers. Will, what can our audience do?
Well, they could and should learn from our mistakes.
Will they?
Probably not. We don't.
Will we? We've done this 65 times.
By next week.
I don't think it's in a row. Marley made our logo. Doesn't it look like Marley now that you know that? Like that's exactly Marley.
It does. It also looks like a word submission we made once with like cartoon.
Yeah, because I saw she did the cartoon for you something. I said I want the bloopers thing made like that. So it's definitely derivative to what you did. I don't know where to start with my bloopers. I'm going to do one that probably involves Allie, and I'll save the other one for future weeks. So Will and I have been hard at work on a white paper series around the topic of eliminating or removing unintended biases from the recruiting process, which has started in part because of the conversation you and I had about neurodiversity, got me thinking. I learned more about it, and we put these 3 papers together. So Will and I planned this. The big emailing went out yesterday. I did it. I got around to finishing it at the end of the day. So I did it all as a mail merge, and I set it to go out 8 o'clock this morning. I tested this son of a bitch on every browser I could think of. And I sent it out. And this morning, all the emails started coming back. The downloads don't work. Like,
oh no!
How? I know I'm not the most careful guy, but I practiced. I tried it. I tried it on every browser. As soon as I hit mail, it didn't go. So yours will not work.
Okay. So, it's good that I haven't checked them yet.
Yeah. Well, I know. That wasn't meant to put you on the spot. But you're involved in the genesis of this project.
Well,
and then
I'm excited, looking forward to not being able to download
good. Will, what do you got?
Something you could a tool you could use for that.
I know.
Better management of that. But
Yeah.
okay, we'll talk
A
about it.
link to download the white papers doesn't work.
No. Sorry.
Got it. That's a good blooper.
Yeah, it's a good blooper. I tried. Will, what do you got?
Look, I'm going to make it easy. My blooper is the fact that I don't have my headset on, and that I continued leading with my assertiveness to plug and unplug and plug and unplug and plug and unplug that jack to try and get the thing to work when it just simply wasn't going to work today. But I wouldn't lift my head up and change my focus, which is a problem of mine when my strengths turn into weaknesses.
You're like the dog that's got a chain, and you're just going to keep pulling against the chain instead of unwinding.
If I do it 25 times, it'll work.
Yes. Well, that's you. That's on brand. Allie, loop us.
Okay. It's kind of in the theme of the podcast when I shared about meeting invite challenges. So Adam is my CEO and co-founder. We decided to have date nights, way too, after we're 15 years of marriage. And our first one was Wednesday. It was kind of a business double date. We're taking out a customer and his wife. And the customer sent an invite with the location and the time. And then just to make sure, because Adam's calendars had some issues, I sent my own invite with the time and the place. And then yesterday I sent Adam a note in the afternoon. I'm like, hey, do you have all the information you need? And he's like, no, why would I? And I'm like, because it's in your calendar, period, twice. And I think twice was in all caps. And he's like, and then even before he says anything more, I'm like, And I go and I look in our calendars because I can see his. Neither invite was sent to him. Even the one I intentionally made for him, I forgot to put him on it. And so I'm like, I'm so sorry. He's like, the twice was a really nice touch.
Yes.
Happy date night. Are you looking forward to it? So
yeah.
Oh my God. I love that. Yes.
That's my blooper.
Every time I feel so certain of something, I'm starting to catch myself, and then I check it. And almost every time the thing that I thought was the way it was not the way it was.
Maybe it's because we're thinking so hard about it being right that we then think we did it right because there's been so much mental energy expended. It's like, I don't know.
I was just going to go with the simple answer, boobs. Right?
Okay, oops.
Oopsie.
Oops.
Have a good week, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Work in Progress is a podcast presentation of Slipshod Productions. Available on LinkedIn and YouTube. Executive produced and starring John Lane and Will Barfield. Talent booking, production, and editing by John Lane. Thanks for watching. See you next week.